to look at solving harder ratio problems. Percent is where we're going to lead to, but in today's lesson, it's going to be just the ratio problems. And the first problem here, as you start writing, 30 to k equals 6 to 5, and that's how I would say a ratio. And you'll remember this is how we solved it earlier in the semester, where you write out the 30 and the k and the 6 and the 5, you make a box or an X, and you look at the relationships, okay? So, 6, what I see when I look at this, if I multiply 6 by 5, I'll get 30. So what you do on this side then is you follow the same relationship. You say, okay, then 5 times 5 has to be what k is. K has to be this times 5, this bottom number times 5, because 30 is this bottom number times 5. And if I just scroll here, k then is 5 times 5, or 25. Looking at this side, same idea, actually ends up being 5 as well, but you write it out the same, 10 over 2, k to 8, right? And so what do I multiply 2 by to get 10? Well, it's 5. And what do I multiply 8 by then to get k? Well, 5. It'll be the same number. So you can work out k. And so you would have done the questions like this. What we haven't done is questions when they're not as easy to see. Like, we can see these relationships. Sometimes they're not very easy. And we haven't done that yet, so we're going to do that in today's lesson. So first of all, you need to know that you can express a ratio as a fraction. That's the most important thing. And when you express it as a fraction, the number you see first is the top number in the fraction. So the first number is always on top. Okay, so 3 to 4 as a fraction is 3 over 4, right? And remember, a fraction is really just a divide. But we're not doing a divide in this, but that's just, remember, those things are all the same. A fraction, a divide, and a ratio, really, 3 over 4. So we're going to use fractions in algebra to solve ratio problems when they're a bit harder. Or we're going to start with the easy ones, because the strategy, like the nice thing about this strategy, unlike the method I showed you at the beginning of the year, is this always works. It doesn't matter what the problem is, how hard it is. For myself, it is always the strategy that I use because it always works, okay? And cross, multiply, and divide is the way I express it. You could call it the crisscross method, and the reason is you can see down here these, the crossing arrows. But let's go through the process. Try not to write too far ahead so you can follow what I'm saying. Here's the exact same thing we did in the first question, okay? But I'm going to write it as fractions. So 30 over k equals 6 over 5, okay? So that's the first step. When I say cross multiply as my strategy, you actually, it's like you take an arrow from the bottom of one side to the top of the other for both parts of the fraction. So cross multiply. Send this up here and I send the k up there. What that means is the 30 is multiplied by the 5, the one on the bottom here, and the 6 is multiplied by the k down here. Okay? And now what I'm trying to do now is solve for k. So if I keep going, I multiply 30 by 5 to get 150 equals 6k. 6 times k is just 6k. The second part, cross multiply, now divide. Divide each side by 6 to get k by itself. And I flipped it over and put k on this side, but it's the same thing. 150 over 6 is 25. Okay? That's how you do it. I'm going to do a bunch more examples. They're always the exact same. Okay? So here's the next one. We did this one already. 10 to 2 equals k to 8. 10 over 2 equals k over 8. Cross multiply. Send the 8 to the top there and the 2 to the top there. 10 times 8 equals k by 2. So 80 is 10 times 8 equals 2k. The next step, divide, right? Cross multiply, then divide. So you divide the 2k by 2 to get k by itself. K equals 40. Okay, because 80 divided by 2 is 40. If I'm going too fast, just pause. Again, I'm just going to keep going on a bunch more examples so you see it. Now we're solving for d, but big deal. You do the exact same strategy. D over 5 equals 2 over 6. Next step, cross multiply. Send the 6 to the top over here, send the 5 to the top over here, and you get d times 6 equals 2 times 5. 6d equals 10. You got to get the d by itself, so you do the divide part. Divide by 6 to get d by itself. And d, and this time I put an approximately equal because it's approximately equal to 1.67. 10 divided by 6 isn't a straightforward number. You could leave it as d equals 10 by 6, or you could leave it as d equals 5 by 3, something like that, or you could just put it as a decimal for my point of view. Okay? Other side, same thing. 3 over 4 equals d divided by 9. Cross multiply. So you end up with 3 times 9 down here equals d times 4 up here. And you end up, 3 times 9 is 27 equals 4d. You're looking to get the d by itself, so you divide both sides by 4, and you get d equals 6.75. That one's a straight equal. That works out perfectly. Okay? Cross multiply and divide is the strategy. Now your next ones you're going to see are just a little bit different. This time I've got d on the bottom. Well, I think maybe the first one we did had d on the bottom, but if you hear a rustling in the background, by the way, that's my cat. She's playing with the wrapping paper. Anyway, so write this as an equation using fractions. Cross multiply. 5 times 3 equals d times 11, or 11d. Divide both sides by 11, cross multiply and divide. End up with d is approximately equal to 1.36. Hopefully you see it's just a pattern now. There's no tricks I can put into this, okay? It is what it is. 15d, 45 over 3. Cross multiply to get the d on the top and the 15 over here. 15 times 3 equals 45d. 45 equals 45d. Divide both sides by 45. d equals 1. And actually doing this hopefully is helping you remember how to solve equations too. Another important skill. So that's it. I'm going to turn off my video, and I want you to turn off, and I want you to try the questions that are coming up beneath. And there are some word problems, so there's more video to watch, but I want you to just stop right here.